So welcome everybody. Welcome to our first, or for this upcoming 12 months, our first Angels at Essex Female Founders and Investors meeting. Obviously last year, or the last academic year, I guess, we've run, or John has run these sessions as well. Now we are entering into the next phase after a short summer break of all these meetings. So these are going to be over the next 12 months. We're going to have these at monthly intervals, apart from, I think, December, if I remember correctly, just because of everything what's going on in December and Christmas and all the wonderful things. So welcome. And we just wanted to, there we go. Just wanted to welcome you to this first event, kicking it off in September. And we also wanted to introduce, or to just mention a few things. So what the purpose of these meetings are. So one is obviously it's kind of a network opportunity. We always have going to have keynote speakers to learn something about female-led businesses or female investors, or any kind of organizations that have to do with female running funds and grants and things like that. So, but the other side of the thing, the other side of the coin is also that we want to have these monthly meetings to give you a space to collaborate, to connect, to share anything that you'd like to share, to connect with other female businesses, whether that's investors or founders themselves. But also if you have any kind of needs or, facing challenges that you might want to ask some help for, or some guidance, or just some food for thought, and brainstorm, feel free. That this is also a safe space for that, for you to open up, I guess, a little bit and share. But we want to also learn more about each other and about your businesses. So definitely feel free to share. We're going to have breakout session, or one breakout session every month as well, with the topic, but you can also obviously connect. So make sure that you connect with each other on LinkedIn, and you kind of, get to know each other. Just going to quickly introduce ourselves, as we are the hosts of the next 12 months, and you're going to see our faces a lot. So over to you, Lauren, first.
Thanks, Magda. Yeah, hello, everybody. I've just seen quite a few more people join us, which is really great for this first session of the next year, really, that you're going to see us. So it's really great to be involved with this as well. It's the first time that Magda and I have been involved, so it's very exciting for us. So I think I did, like I said, I recognise a couple of names of people I've seen before, but most of you won't know who I am. So just a bit of a brief introduction. I work at the University of Essex. And I work within a team called Essex Startups. That team is predominantly there to look after students, but also we do focus on graduates, so up to sort of 3 years after students graduate. Basically, what we do is they can connect with us for support, advice, workshops, events, all sorts of different areas that we help with when students and graduates are looking to start a business. So it could be once they're at university, or they decide, once they've left, actually, I wouldn't mind pursuing my own role as an entrepreneur. So that's our whole role, really. We are student facing. I've just recently gone back onto campus after a long 19 months of not being there. So it's been quite strange, but really great though to be there and see students again in person. And we are starting our upcoming sort of autumn welcome week in the next couple of weeks. So it'd be great to see all the new faces on campus as well. We do have a lot of our events and everything that we host are within the Innovation Centre. If any of you know the University of Essex, you'll know it's this huge building, and we have a place called Studio X, which is absolutely fantastic for anybody looking to start their business. We are opening it up, hopefully, gradually, for students to come and actually use it as a sort of working hub, really. We have lots of different equipment in there for students to be able to work on their business. We've got meeting rooms, we've got lots of technology, really, computers, cameras, recording equipment, a really fantastic piece of kit, which hasn't been used enough, unfortunately, because we've been shut, but it's called a 360-degree lens, which is basically a projection camera, which you can walk into and you can project whatever you want onto it. So we're hopefully going to get that back in use as well. We also have VR headsets. We've literally got all the tech, and we just need the people in there now. But yeah, we are basically there to support anybody on their startup journey. And we do also work with a lot of external businesses, and we work with Santander universities who actually give us a bit of funding. So we do actually also not just want to work on those projects with students and graduates, it's about funding that and seeing if we can really develop those business ideas and help them on their way. I'm not only interested in this program because of the role I play at the university, but I am also myself a female founder. I have had various different occupations throughout my life. It's been very varied, from a beauty background to working for a mortgage company and all sorts of different things to where I am today. But my current situation is, for the last 5, actually it's coming up for 6 years, I've actually opened and run my own children's entertainment business as well, which I still do alongside my role at the university. And for anybody that knows or is interested in Disney, what I actually do is a Frozen impersonation. So if anybody knows Frozen, you might be a fan of it, or you might have children that are fans of it. So I actually work alongside my sister, and we host parties and events, and we go to Christmas light switch-ons and school fairs and all sorts of different things. And I have just had a real passion always for having my own business and working for myself. And I think that's sort of what led me to this role at the university, to help others do that as well. And obviously, especially right now, how we're looking at sort of female founders and how we can really promote that to our students and graduates. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I won't go on any longer. I'll pass over to Magda, and she can let you know about why she's involved with this.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. I met Lauren at the university, or via the university. So my background is in marketing and advertising originally, but obviously as everybody goes through ups and downs and different jobs and different things. But I've worked in that industry for quite a while. And before I came to the UK, 10 and a half years ago now. Time flies. And since then, I've been working in that industry here as well. I started out here, but then I always had this creative need, and I always wanted to be my own boss. And so I became a wedding photographer about 8 years ago now. From there on, I also launched some female-led photography mentoring and things like that. And then I got involved with the University of Essex, and I'm there a entrepreneur in residence. And I've been working with the university for 4.5 years about now. And just like we said, in the Essex startup team, providing mentorship, providing one-to-ones and customized services, events and workshops, etc., etc. Then I became a co-founder about 1.5 years ago. I became a co-founder of another business, which is called The Weave. We are three founding members, and we are a enterprise education business who are trying to a regional one. So we're working with the local region, with the local micro businesses in North Essex and South Suffolk region predominantly, and providing accelerator programs for the enterprise agency. We're working with lots of different organizations throughout. We're also working with the university, but I think it's mostly what our core work is going to be moving forward is about helping micro businesses in the region to really flourish, grow, and be the sort of support system around them. Because the thing how we are always envisioning the Weave is kind of that university experience that you have as a student, where you're like really in that support network, you have everything around you, that you have a lot of wonderful opportunities, and then as soon as you leave the university, potentially, obviously you want to be connected to university, but there are often things that you feel might feel a little bit alone. So we want to bring that university feel to the micro businesses of the region. But that's just a little bit about me. And obviously done loads of things, but I'm really interested in this. And thank you, John, for having us as the host for the next 12 months. So you're going to see more of us in the future. And
thank you.
Yeah, so just quickly running through the agenda. Obviously, we're in the middle of the welcome. We've done that pretty much. The next step today is going to be introduction to the University Enterprise Zone by John Stenhouse. And then we're going to have a wonderful talk from Emma Douglas-Beet about the Women in Innovations Awards. Then we're going to break out into some sessions where you can network, and we're going to have a sort of discussion topic we would love your feedback on at the end of the session. And then we're just going to wrap up quickly with some upcoming events and any questions that you might have.
So I just would like to introduce John before he speaks as well. Again, some of you may have met John before. He is actually one of my colleagues at the University of Essex. So we do work quite closely. But although I sort of am more student facing, John is our business support manager for the University Enterprise Zone. So he sort of heads up the Angels at Essex equity funding platform. And also the Space to Grow programme, which is there to sort of support entrepreneurial growth, investment readiness for businesses, and also to help with those funding opportunities. I will pass over to John now so he can give you a little bit more information on that.
Thank you very much indeed, Lauren and Magda. And I know you can't see me other than in the little box, but that's fine for me because I'm a backroom guy, as they know. The Angels at Essex and the University Enterprise Zone and the Space to Grow, they're all big mouthfuls, but let me put it into context. The University Enterprise Zone was awarded to the University of Essex late in 2019, and it was one of a number of universities that were granted that status. And this is in recognition of the work that we do with businesses. It's not so much geared to the work that we do with the students, which we're already accredited for, but this is for working with businesses. And since then, we've engaged with many, many businesses through our program and through other programs at the university. So much so that the university is ranked as number 2 in the UK for working with businesses with our knowledge transfer partnerships, which is where we find graduates to help solve business problems. So it's quite an accreditation going forward. Our programs, the Angels at Essex and Space to Grow, are focused on businesses themselves. So we don't work with students to a great deal. We let Lauren and Magda deal with the students, but we are interested in university spinouts where we can help them. And the whole idea is to provide an ecosystem around the university that extends all the way across the business community to help businesses understand where equity investment is appropriate for them, where it may be better than taking on debt finance, and the pros and cons of doing it. And so it's very much a case of, we're not here to force anybody down the equity investment route. We're here to make sure that they make the right choice. And if equity investment is not the right choice for them, we have any number of outlets where we can direct them to further help and support. Some of it's totally free, some of it's heavily subsidized, and some of it's in the commercial market. And here we help people to ask the right question. If you ask the right question, you'll get the right answer. And our Space to Grow program, everybody is entitled to join our Space to Grow program. There are no restrictions on who can join it, and it's totally free. And it's all webinar based. It's all done by meetings and online. And you will join, if you join us, you'll join over 1,300 people who have actually joined our webinar programs over the last 12 to 15 months. That's quite a phenomenal number. And we're very proud of that. Of those, over 230 have actually asked to come onto our equity investment program, where they've explored going further down that road. And over 40 have actually come onto our Angels at Essex platform seeking funding. 27 of those have actually benefited from funding. We don't fund directly ourselves. This is purely from private equity investors, sophisticated high net worth individuals and VC fund managers, all investing in businesses that we are presenting on our platform. And we're there to help people, individuals, entrepreneurs, teams, to build their businesses and to make them investment ready. And that's what we do. And that's what we're good at. Give you some more numbers. Okay, I'm an accountant by profession. I do apologize. But we've helped businesses raise over 9.3 million in the last 12 months alone. And we're very proud of that. And that's access to finance. That's access to equity finance that businesses probably would not have achieved without our assistance. And we are working constantly to help businesses grow. So why Angels at Essex Female Founders and Investors? Well, it's a national problem that female founders are not getting their fair share of the equity investment that's out there. And furthermore, female investors will invest in all types of businesses, not just female-led businesses, but all types of businesses. So it's very inclusive. And when we talk about inclusivity, if we talk about minority female founders, they find it the hardest to get investment. That's why we're here to help those people. And we are talking individuals here. We're helping individuals grow and develop their businesses and raise that equity finance that they need. But it's a long journey and it doesn't happen overnight. And that's why we want to be here for the longer term. And we're very grateful to our sponsors for allowing us to continue with this program for the next 12 months and hopefully beyond. And so we will progress along this way. So come on board, join us, come onto our programs, hop on, hop off as you feel appropriate. Think of it as a bus. And we will help you as best we can. And if we don't know how to help you, we'll find out and we'll find someone else who can. So thank you very much. So over to you, Magda. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, John. Thank you for the introduction to the University Enterprise Zone and the Angel at Essex platform. Now we're going to go into our keynote speaker of today, the lovely Emma Douglas-Beet. She is part of the Innovate UK Edge program, and she is the Scaleup Director and Innovation Growth Advisor for the Women in Innovation and for the entire east of England. So she's going to talk more about the program and about the especially about the Women in Innovation Awards today. So without further ado.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you everyone for inviting me along today to come and talk. So yes, as Magda mentioned, I am a Scaleup Director and Innovation Growth Advisor at Innovate UK Edge. Just in case anybody doesn't know what Innovate UK Edge does, is if you've got innovative companies, Innovate UK for its grants, obviously gives an awful lot of money away to companies growing and scaling. And we are sort of the business support side of that. That is a fully funded program that we would help companies that have innovations within their organization. And we can then go on to look at the business support. So one's the funding arm and one is the business support arm. So I just wanted to go over a little bit today yes, I'm going to be talking about Women in Innovation Awards and some grants that are out there, which are obviously always very interesting for people. But I just wanted to quickly give you a snapshot of where I've come from, really, and what I've done to help particularly female-led innovative companies. So back in, 2002, 2004, I started a sales and marketing company, helping companies with their marketing and sales strategies to help them grow. As a result of that, then they had a funding requirement. And at the time, there were quite a lot of grants out there that we could try and support the companies with. So we set up a sort of a bid writing arm of the organisation to help them actually get great bids together for their grant applications. Then as they became more tricky to gain, then we sort of looked at the equity space. So this is where, John and I have worked together on companies, trying to get them investment ready and trying to get them onto the Essex platform, which is fantastic. So, within all of that, I look after people that have innovative organisations, but in particular, I do have a penchant for helping female-led businesses. And I'll come on to tell you a bit later on about how I've helped some of these companies and, the sort of the unique challenges that they have, really. So that's what I want to try and talk to you today. So really sort of setting the scene of where I've come from and how I've helped companies for many years, longer than I can even think about. So I just wanted to touch on scaling companies, because at the end of the day, if you're going to be looking, whether you're an investor or whether you're an investee, we're interested in scaling companies. We're looking at those companies that have really got something and they're really going to make a difference and grow within the current landscape. So, first of all, the joys of working with female-led companies, all the ones I've ever worked with have great tenacity. I can honestly say, without a shadow of a doubt, they have got great tenacity. They've got the wherewithal to say, right, okay, I'm going to grow this company. And they have the skill sets to really drive that. But sometimes they don't have some of the tools that they need in order to help them. So that's where people like us can come in and try and help them actually overcome those challenges. And sometimes, it can be quite a lonely place. So sometimes you need these types of people that can help you. The challenges that they're facing today, scaling companies always have the same sorts of challenges. Founders wearing too many hats, particularly female-led companies. You could say we also have the added benefit of home life as well. So, that's always quite a challenge, but it's trying to overcome these challenges in order to help you focus on the company and to help them grow. I wanted to put in here a little bit about COVID, because there's no two ways about it. It has changed the face of how we work today and the impact of COVID. Now, for some of us, and I've seen many companies, it's been fantastic in the fact it's forced change within the workplace, and it has actually made some companies grow exponentially. I was working with a company back in 2019, scratching our heads how we're going to get it from a £2 million to a £10 million company within 5 years. COVID hit, it happened to have a solution within the COVID world, and it achieved growth up to 22 million turnover within that last year. So, for some people it's been great, but I totally appreciate for some it's been a real challenge, and companies have had to pivot and they've had to change. So really it's looking at those things that we've got to change, the barriers to growth and what we can overcome. And I think two of the key things I think with scaling companies is two things: is funding, which is where John and his team can come in to try and look at those, and also talent acquisition. And sometimes once you've got the right people in place, they've got the money in place, it's getting the right people in place in order to expedite that. So that's something that I find is quite common. So how can we help as an ecosystem? Obviously, we are all part of the ecosystem, whether you're a founder, whether you're an investor, whether you're part of this sort of business support network. And we've got to try, and scale-ups will always grow. There's no two ways about it. If they're there, they have the aspiration to grow, they will grow. But what I'm saying is how we can accelerate this. And that we've got to try and assist that desire to grow. So actually harnessing that desire and making sure it's being sort of pushed in the right way. And I've put here, and I will sort of highlight throughout, the key challenges for most scaling companies is the seeking of funding. And my background has been, for the last 10 years, is looking at equity funding and looking how we can prepare companies for that. So it's looking at, not necessarily it's always money that people need. It's the funding journey. It could be traditional debt, it could be equity, it could be grants. It's looking at the landscape and really seeing how we can come up with this blended funding approach. So really, all I can say is, with regards to the investment readiness, it's not a guaranteed thing, but if you can get the right support to increase your chances, whether it's a grant application, whether it's an investment information memorandum you're trying to put together, that's what we're trying to do. And ultimately trying to unlock the talent within your company to help you grow and in scale, take you on that scaling journey, which is exactly what investors are looking for. They're not looking to sort of put money into lifestyle businesses. They are looking for that 10x. Something that they talk quite a lot about in America is looking for that 10x return. You know, are they going to achieve that? Is this a true scaling company to help them grow? As I said, it can be a lonely place. It could be the first time that you're leading or working in a fast-growing company. And I think here, as advisors and consultants, we have our place. We are very useful to those sorts of companies, and we are able to help them. But actually, I think where a great deal of insight, and this is why I'm so glad to be here today, is this peer-to-peer network, this both formal and informal environment that we can work, that you might have a challenge, that you need a safe space to say, actually, do you know what, I've got this real challenge. Now, talking about it might be 50% of the solution. But then obviously there could be other people that are in the room that can actually say, hey, I've come up against that too. Could we either collaborate to try and overcome it? Can we try and, I actually did this, you might find this useful, or go and talk to these people. So it's actually trying to think of you know, who's in the room basically, and who can help you. And because we know scaling companies is a lonely place. And the networking versus time, you know, we could spend all our days on these seminars and they are very valuable, but then it's just trying to work out what is the best source of networking, and how is that going to be impacting on my company. So really it's just basically how to make the best of our type of support. A quick plug for us. So as I say, I'm an innovation growth advisor and a Scaleup director. So in Innovate UK Edge, I mentioned we are the business support arm of what we can do. So we have innovation growth specialists, which I am one of those type of people. We can help companies that have an innovative design or product or service, and they have the ability to internationalize that at some point in the future. So we have bespoke innovation support. It's not a program. It is not a sort of a list of things that we have to go through. It's very much bespoke, and what is the needs of the company and how can we help to overcome that. And it's typically about 6 months support. And then we can go on to help you with regards to the impacts that you want to achieve in your company. Then we have the Scaleup support that can be used. Now, this is, if you look at a triangle of all the sort of businesses that we look after, this is the top 3%. So typically it's sort of companies that are approaching that £1 million turnover, perhaps going for their Series A or have just secured Series A funding and looking to that real sort of scalability of their organisation. So that's where the sort of the high growth support can come in. Okay, so here I wanted to try and talk about the Women in Innovation, which is a fantastic thing that you can go for with regards to the grants. As I mentioned, Innovate have a lot of grants, and please always go and look at Innovate UK website for the grants that are on the calls that are there at the time. Innovate UK are the grant sort of place. Then obviously you've got KTN, and then you've got Innovate UK Edge, which is what we are. Women in Innovation Awards. Now, they are a fantastic thing to do. I would strongly suggest, you know, at least looking at the awards that are on offer, because you get a great deal of support if you are a winner of the awards. And also it can sometimes be a good starting place. If you've never applied for grants before, it's not such a challenging grant application as perhaps something like a SMART grant, or if anybody's ever gone for a SMART grant, it's not an easy thing to do. And also the perhaps industry specific grants that Innovate UK have. And I have to say, I feel like I'm going on about Innovate UK grants, but there are obviously a plethora of grants out there that you can gain access to. And we have actually sort of a grant tool that we use to try and find if there's a grant that is specific to your industry sector or type or location. So it's for as it says here, exciting, innovative ideas who can inspire others. They can apply for £50,000 worth of grant funding on 100% project base, so it's not a percentage, which is most of the Innovate grants. So typically Innovate grants are 70% of project funding. So on £1 million project, you would get £700,000, and they would expect you to go and find the remaining 300. And I have put the close date on here as well. So we don't have a great deal of time to get applications in, but if it's something that you would find useful or helpful, this is where Innovate UK Edge can come in. We can review grant applications. We also have INS with the KTN, who are the people that actually look after the grant applications for them, and we can get them to even check grant applications prior to them going in. So as I say, it's worth a look. I've put the link on here and I will of course share my slides after the meeting, so you can actually have a look and see if that's something you'd like to do. I also want to have a quick plug for a catapult grant, that if you've got any requirements for a catapult to do some work for you, there is £15,000 worth of support, again 100% fully funded, and there are a number of catapults across the country, part of the Innovate UK family, and then you can gain access to them. You can get support from us to put your expressions of interest in, and then hopefully that will lead to a successful application, and then you can go ahead and get the work done and get the £15,000 to spend with the catapult. Okay, so if you are lucky enough to win one of these Innovate UK Women in Innovation Awards, quite a mouthful, Women in Innovation, you get bespoke coaching and mentoring from an Innovate UK Edge advisor. Obviously you get the money, you get the £50,000 worth of grant, but some people say actually the support in connection with the money is fantastic, because it allows the money to be spent perhaps in the right direction, and make sure people don't go down rabbit holes that potentially will take longer and perhaps not even get the best value for that 50,000. So people are very welcome of the coaching and mentoring support. I've got some award winners on my right that have said to that effect. You obviously get the support of Women in Innovation events, and they happen quite frequently. I'm at a boot camp next week where the award winners take 2 days out of their working day and a working week, and they sort of have that peer-to-peer support, and they have the support from us as well. Peer-to-peer networking, which is really encouraged to try and help the women innovators collaborate and do things together. And then also they encourage you to actually go out to the wider community, and they like you to adopt a school. Perhaps it was one that you were at or you have some connection with, and then you've maybe heard of blue plaques that you have where famous people have been. They encourage the women in innovation and innovators to have their own purple plaque at the school, and they go and talk to the young girls there, well, you know, the young people there, and go and try and inspire them to be the next innovators of tomorrow. So it's a really nice thing to do. Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you about one of my clients that is a Women in Innovation winner, Headset Studio, a fantastic organisation. They are a couple of journalists that came up with virtual reality training for war zones, basically, because it's something that is done normally in a classroom environment, and they wanted to bring it more to life, bearing in mind they had been in war zones themselves and understood the really key challenges that they face. So they've developed this system with the help of an Innovate grant, not just the Women in Innovation grant, it was a SMART grant as well. And I've been working with them for 4 months. We will continue to work together for probably another 4 to 5 months, but we have really driven the company through. They were finding there was real delay in the sales cycle. They were talking to people, but nobody was actually committing to the sale. So we assessed what the problem was, and they were basically saying to them they could do anything. So if you say that to a company, generally they don't buy anything. So we created 3 key packages. We called them gold, silver and bronze to start with. They've come up with some great names for them. And then companies can say, yeah, no problem, I'll have package B. And they have seen the sales increase exponentially, and they are thrilled just with that small intervention that I feel I've done. Now we're working on investment readiness, and they are doing exactly what I try and tell everybody to do, is actually to start working on your investment readiness journey as soon as you possibly can. Don't wait until you're going to run out of money in the next 2 to 3 months. Start it much sooner. The more time you've got, the more likelihood you have got of securing that funder. If you're waiting till the time the money runs out, that's generally not the time to be fundraising, because your valuations might be pinched. There might be a myriad of reasons why you can't go and talk to all these investors in the timescales. So always give yourself as much time as possible in order to get your investment readiness phase done. So I wanted to try and talk to you about a few events we've got with regards to women in innovation. So the KTN, as I mentioned, part of the Innovate family, they run quite a lot of events, and I put the sort of the key ones here that are going to be coming up. We've got something, so obviously we've got the Women in Innovation Driving Business Growth. You can log on to that one. Enabling technologies, and then also the innovation continuity loans. Now, that's another source of funding. It isn't a grant. It is what it says. It is actually a loan. But what it's designed for is perhaps you've got through the R&D stage, because obviously Innovate grants are all about your R&D. Once you've got through that stage and you're perhaps going into commercialization, and you're needing that funding in order to grow the commercialized side of the business, there is something called an innovation continuity loan, and applications can be put in for that. And it obviously is a loan, needs to be repaid over a period, I think, of 7 years. But sometimes it can be that difference between not necessarily having to go for equity funding, or if you're finding that challenging, you can look into the innovation continuity loans. Then us as Innovate UK Edge, we've got a few. I've put the 2 at the bottom, preparing for funding and what investors are looking for. I've put those. There were a couple of presentations that I did with female founders and female investors that you'd be happy to click onto, but I wanted to try and promote slightly is our events that we're having in October, Women in Construction, and on the 11th of November, sustainable product development. So there are lots of events that also you can click onto if it's any of use. And then I've just popped the email address at the bottom. If you email that, they will keep you up to date about all these events that are happening. So I think that pretty much takes me to the end of my presentation.
One person says, I'm very interested in the Women in Construction event.
I met with Tech Nation the other day talking about this new Scaleup 4.0 model. And the question was asked of why do they struggle with getting access to startups in rural environments? And my answer to that was that they don't think of themselves in this terminology.
Right.
And so I suppose that, I don't know what you think about that, John, as well, actually, but there is a little bit of, I understand everything you've said, all of it makes sense. I think it's very interesting to the type of startups that I work with, but learning this model is quite difficult to do quickly. Do you see what I mean? Like putting yourself in that mindset is quite difficult. So it's not really a question. I suppose what I'm looking for is how do we bridge that gap? Because I think what I do is the kind of much more granular, go out, do this type of business support. Certainly, we've got the Develop Her Awards, which is an East Anglian award ceremony. So there's a lot of this stuff and traction in this space already. But I think it's bridging the two together. And I think you guys are coming at, you're a very mature offering. All of it makes sense, but it kind of always feels to me kind of Essex and down towards London. And what I would like to do is take this message from Essex up to Norfolk and Suffolk. Does that make sense? Sorry.
Absolutely. John, shall I just do my first bit? Well, just very briefly, Innovate UK Edge as a support network covers the UK. But actually I'm based in Norfolk. so yeah, you're right. I sort of was a newbie 2 years ago. There wasn't anybody from Norfolk, for goodness sake. They didn't even know where it was. No, I'm joking.
That's not far true, no.
And so we do look after Norfolk to the Wash and down, and then obviously John looks at all sorts. So he collaborates with us in all sorts of companies, whether they're in Essex or not. So Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, and I think Cambridge has sometimes a skew on our figures, because, you know, London is first, and then Cambridge perhaps skews the whole East Anglia figures. I don't know, but interested to see what John says on this as well.
I mean, I actually agree with you, Sam, that behind the hedgerows of Suffolk and Norfolk, there's an awful lot going on. And whether it's manufacturing or construction or high tech, if they can get the internet access, it's all there. And it's actually very resilient indeed. It's almost, I'll use the word COVID-free. They are still growing and still developing and doing very well. And perhaps it's the isolation. They don't get exposed to so many people. I don't know. We won't go there. But certainly we have found that our operating area, okay, you think we're Essex, okay, because it's the University of Essex and it's Essex Angels and what have you. We cover the whole of the country. We are actually turning people away from Scotland because we feel that they've got far too much investment up there. They don't need our money. And the Northern Powerhouse, which gets shed loads of money, they're still coming down to us, asking us for help. And there's a reason for this. Our focus is on those businesses in those early stages, in what is euphemistically called the Valley of Death. They're really good ideas, but they're not yet quite proven in the market. They need commercialization, they need help and support, and they need to be sold to the right people in the right way. And that's what we're doing. We're helping them bridge that gap. We're taking people up to what we call Series A. And once they hit Series A, they get inundated with people wanting to help them, wanting to invest in them, if they've got the right ideas. And so we feel that getting them to Series A is our mission.
So you guys are the home for this then. So I've sent some people here this month. So that's all I need to hear then. So I think it's that's the little transformation, the little jump at the beginning, education piece, as you say, because all it is really is people solving problems. All any of it is people solving problems, and whether that's a good problem to solve and in the right way. So definitely. So this becoming a kind of home of it all makes sense then. Okay, all right, I'll go and bring some people home, John.
Yeah, please do. And you know, Suffolk is a very fertile ground for us. So we're very happy, and Norfolk, of course. And I won't bore you with the number of opportunities we get coming to us from Cambridge, where they're not actually getting a look in, because you know, Cambridge only picked the very best of the best of the best. And there is an awful lot of good ideas coming out of Cambridge which just don't get a look in because
there definitely are. I had a bit of an experience this week where I was pulled in to help provide some resource for a STEM event, and it wasn't a STEM event, it was an arts event. Now that is the other problem I think we've got, is that the misnaming of things, and the government, small government, local district councils will jump on a term and think, oh well, we'll put these people because they're the people we've got. So I think that's my point, is there's the misnaming and the misunderstanding of what this terminology means and how they on board onto it quickly is creating an issue. Because I think you're right, it's fertile ground, plenty of people out there with plenty of ideas, actually plenty of money. But those aren't the issues. It's trying to make sure that they find these rooms. So I'm definitely, you know, John knows I'm trying to solve that problem, but that's the bit for me. Keep that low level education. What's the next, what are the stepping stones? And for you guys, any of you that are far enough along, what you guys add is context. So any of you existing stories that we can tell, it's like, I didn't realize I was a tech startup until I had a conversation with John, and this is how I learned I was. That's super useful, because that's how we turn it back around again. You know what I mean? Go back in that direction. So yeah, definitely a work in progress.
So really useful information. I'd like to know a little bit more about the continuity loan, but the reason I'm asking that is because really what I want to find out, I'm in the middle of the pain of filling in a smart grant application, and I'm well aware of the fact that I need to be able to fund 30% of what I'm asking for.
Yes.
And obviously I'm at that stage where I need funding. Yes. So where are they expecting us to be able to find that 30%? What's the normal route that people find that 30% funding from?
equity investment. So
Right.
because if you do go and get that grant letter saying well done, you know, you've got 700,000, whatever it is, yes, I worked with one called Latest Therapeutics last year. They had a 1.4 million pound smart grant, and they had to go and get something in the region of 550, 600 equity funding. Now, because they've got such a significant amount from the grant funding, the equity funding was easier. I'm not saying it's easy, it's not, because, you know, I think John will bear me out, and no sort of funding is easy, but it's much easier because you're de-risking it with a lovely grant. There's obviously no equity involved, and also it's de-risking it from the investor's point of view. You can lower your valuation because you're not having to go for so much, and you can, you know, give them probably more equity into the business as you can. So yes, if you're looking at a smart grant application, I feel your pain, or you've moved. So I feel your pain, but I think, you know, we at Innovate UK Edge would be happy to look at that application. If you want support, we can certainly sign you up. You get an innovation advisor, you get somebody like me. We have also got grant specialists. One of my colleagues, Richard Allen, who's tip top at getting grants, and so he'll look at it and he'll say, yeah, you know, if it's your first one particularly, he'd be more than happy to help. So yeah, so from our point of view, if you want the support, we're there. I don't know when the smart grant deadline is.
6th of October.
Okay, so we've got to get a bit of a wiggle on. So yes, if you do want support, get in touch.
Thank you.
Well, these guys all know where I am, so, you know, please feel free.
I mean, one little question, what you've said, which you're kind of opening my eyes to, is the fact that when they got the grant letter, they then got the equity they needed to have the 30%. So I don't have to have that 30% in the bank. I can have a plan of how I'm going to get it.
Yes, yes. There is a time scale, and also because it's not like some grants where you have to prove the funds before you get the grant. There's a time scale, and also I was going to say something else then. There's a time scale, and they will only let you draw down the funding when you've got the match funding, but there is definitely a hiatus between getting the grant award and getting the money, the project starting, and so you have got that period to go and get that cash. Now, what I would suggest is you're doing a funding equity fundraise in sort of conjunction, but don't worry too much. You don't have to have in your back pocket, basically.
Awesome. That's great. I didn't realize that. So that is a massive learning. Thank you.
Good. Okay. And you just touched on, you wanted more information into innovation continuity.
Well, to be honest, I was looking at that thinking, oh, can that be part of the 30%? But I get the impression not.
No, because no. So basically yeah, but worth having another chat, more detail about what you're doing later on.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma.
No worries.
Excellent.
I was going to mention, as a rule of thumb, investors are very interested in those businesses which are receiving Innovate grants or are applying for Innovate grants, because it is a badge of approval. I hate to use that expression, but that's what it's seen as. And yes, there are organisations out there who, once you've been granted that award and you've got the bit of paper, will actually bankroll it as a means to get to your destination. So there are lots of different ways that you can use what's currently available to achieve what you want to achieve.
Brilliant. Thanks, John.
From Ilaria, please, would you be able to give some practical examples of how you can help with commercialization, and what exactly can you do?
Sure. Okay. I like the please bit, because you're right. You've come from if you've got an innovation or you've got something that you are pre-commercialization, it's a painful journey to bridge that thing in order to get commercialization. Really is having a greater understanding of what you've got and who your target market is. And then, like I think I mentioned with the headset, they had a fantastic innovation. They just didn't know how to sell it. They were saying to people, yes, we can do anything. When we broke it down into packages, they then went back and had the conversations again. They went, we get it now. We'll buy package B. Now, that was one idea we had, with regards to sort of the financial model behind the commercialization strategy. I'd really appreciate to have a longer chat with you to say, actually, what are you trying to commercialize, whether it's a license, whether it's a product, what it is, and then I could give you some potentially practical tips on how to look at that commercialization. So and also, if it's not in your comfort zone, I work with a lot of innovators that go, I'm not a salesperson, I don't want to go and talk to people, and actually sometimes you need to bring in a co-founder, but then equally sometimes I say it's not about selling, forget that, it's about relationship building, and you're solving their problems and having that conversation.
Perfect. And then one very last question. Is it too late to start applying for smart grants now?
Well, you can do it. I mean, I've known a company put in a smart grant application 3 days before the deadline, and he blinking well won it. But he, one, he's very good at writing applications. Two, he had all the information already to hand. And so it is possible, but I would say if you're doing it for the first time, no, is my honest answer. It's quite arduous.
It's just the University Enterprise Zone is having loads of events coming up over the next few months, but we just wanted to focus on the next FE. So the first one is, let me just, on the 21st of September. So that's, I believe, is that next week? Yeah, that's next week. From 2 to 3, it's all about preparing a business idea and making good ideas great. And then on the 28th of September, it's all about the innovation model canvas and what investors want to know. So I think they had some great upcoming events. I think John, do you have a website link that you can put in the chat? All the events are on there. Otherwise, you will probably get a follow-up email from this anyways, and there will be the link to the next events. But just as a reminder, the next Angel at Essex Female Founders and Investors event, it's a mouthful, it's going to be on the 15th of October. So yeah, watch this space, save the date. And it's going to be with Gina Gardner, who's our female and empowerment coach. And then it's also with Hetty Fawcett, who is all about Focused for Business. She's a funding accelerator, or her business is the funding accelerator for startup founders. So that's, I think, is going to be some wonderful talks there as well. And potentially we're going to have a female founder talk as well in there, squeezed in there as well. Plus a breakout session again, hopefully. So yeah, all in due time, all in 1.5 hours. So it's going to be packed full with some interesting stuff. But that's also it for today. Definitely come again next month on the 15th of October. We would love to see you. Lauren and I will be here. John will be here. And our new keynote speakers, and hopefully all of you will be there. So thank you so much for coming today. It's been amazing.